Alrighty, so week 7 in SQL. And this week, as we move closer to that midpoint of the semester, this the all important understanding. And I'm guessing this is not the first time you've heard this, but at the end of the ninth week of the semester is what we call the last opportunity to drop. So the last drop date. Now, I don't recommend dropping, mostly because the students who are hearing this in the actual week that it's in are generally caught up. So, but I just tell you to make sure that if there's any questions about that, you either reach out to a counselor or reach out to myself. So the way you would know to reach out to me is that I'm having some struggles with this part of the class and I need some additional help. Of course, that's my area, but if you're wondering about your general situation on the campus for any other reason, you want to make sure you check in with somebody who can answer your question around that drop date and how it impacts you. But here's what you can know is that once that date passes, you can no longer drop the course and you will get a grade. So let's just help you get the best grade possible. Okay, so that was really my first topic, and I actually include, and you always can go in here, right? So in this case, in simple syllabus, and actually it's a good time for us to look at this because one of my topics is going to be related to this today, right? If you look down here, you'll see that I've listed the dates. Where are they? I know. Oh, here they are. Last date. Okay, so last date to drop with no W, but the last date to drop with a W is at the 10/10. Okay. So now that I'm here, I don't know and if you have, and if you haven't, now's a good time to peruse the simple syllabus for a couple things. One, the communications plan. Like I, in this way, tell you, right, and you probably have felt this, during the weekdays, I try to respond within hours, if not sooner. On the weekends, that definitely can vary based on my schedule, honestly. And if I'm traveling or if I'm somewhere where internet is not as available, it may not happen. But I really want you to know that during the week is my focus for when I reply on a more timely manner. The other thing, if you haven't checked it out, is I actually have a statement in the course about AI in this course. And one of the things you may have already noticed is in the reviews at the end of the week, starting 2 weeks ago, I actually ended up coming up with a series of prompts where I take your session conversation. Now, I do not include your personal information at all in that. I just take your session and I go over to, in this case, Gemini, and where I have set up a space in Gemini based on my criteria, I paste in that and it gives me a review. Now, I determine what the grade is, but I do read that review. And I ended up doing this because I realized it's a good, and okay, in my opinion, now I'm totally open to a conversation here about, how does that feel? Matter of fact, you could tell me that. And if you don't feel like telling me in a discussion, please email me and give me that feedback. Because this to me seems like a good use of AI where it gives you more feedback detail than I possibly would have time to do. Honestly, based on the amount that I have, based on the amount of grading that I do. And you probably have seen this, right? If you're submitting a problem set or a lecture, you know that if you submit early, I give a review, and if you submit again, I give another review. So just those things are more of my focus, and even those, sometimes I will send through a checker of subtype. So I really, and I put at the end of those in your reviews, Rio with AI Assistant, because I wanted you to know that was true. So that's what this particular point in the simple syllabus is, and that's really this concept here. The other thing I will say is when you're doing these AI reviews, actually the idea of them is to attempt them without reviewing anything. So if your first instinct is to go over and open up a Gen AI and attempt to answer it, like taking the question over there, do you learn something? Yeah. Do you learn the depth that you need to for a technical interview? My view on this is no. Okay. Because the thing is, you're going to come in, and this is, this opening of the technical interview happens at the end of week 9, where I open up a sign up for you to sign up, and it'll run from week 9 to week 16 of the semester that you'll come in for a technical interview. Now, what would that look like? Is you come in, right? I give you like a problem set, a new data set you haven't seen. I give you, like, we'll focus on queries, and then we'll have focus on relating, and then we'll probably have one about designing, because that will be the other topic we get into. So in that case, you want to have that ability to analyze things and write queries to solve the problem. So if you're not giving yourself that opportunity, could make this a different experience, which is not the goal. But technical interviews are a way I use to assess students' their skill level through this course. So, and also you can go over here and look at how the course breaks down as far as those percentages to see. It's good. Let's get there. There we go. Okay. So your code-alongs, which are your lectures, your attendance, by the way, do have an impact. And then those reviews are 10%. And then your technical interview is 25% of the course. So these are important things. That's why I'm talking to you about them. Okay. And I put code space in here just to remind you that, check those code spaces just to see what your billing hours are. If you don't remember, ask a question maybe out on Discord. By the way, just to say a word about Discord, the more students who are on Discord can be helpful to students who need help. The idea is actually not to go out there and necessarily, I've said this at the beginning of the semester, and I know it must seem like forever ago, but the idea is not to actually ping me or even Brianna, the tutor. The idea is to ask each other for help, and if one of us happens to be available during that time, we may as well reply. But by adding us or saying specifically to us, other students may think, well, I'm not going to try to answer that. Okay, last thing I'm going to say, now you are going to have a code along, because this week in our relating, we're moving from the idea of subqueries, nested queries to joins. And you're getting the same type of output, which means we're joining together multiple tables, right? We're using that concept of a joiner table, but in this case, we're going to use different syntax, which when you first see it, because there's new SQL, is going to look different, but I can tell you, for me and for many people I talk to, I feel writing a join query is so much easier than writing a subquery. But the question I ask you at the end of this is, which do you prefer, a subquery or a join, and why? So I just want you to think about that going forward. And the thing is, you could also give me any feedback here about those reviews that I mentioned, or you can email me inside of Canvas. Okay, the last thing I'll say this week in relating to, right, we continue now, we finish up this week, and next week we get to problem sets, right? And so the thing I want you to have in your head, because I saw this happen to a couple of students, is when we're doing lectures, like we're finishing up this week the lecture, right, versus a problem set. So in lectures, we do notes, okay? In problem sets, we do proof of work, okay? Here's where it can get a little confusing, is that both are done in the README file. So when we're doing, and this is what I talk about, so when you're doing notes, you're using syntax for markdown to actually do like regular notes. You'll do, maybe an outline, we call them unordered lists, ordered lists, but some kind of way that is note-like in its hierarchy. Now, when we're doing the POE, right, again, in that same markdown file, we're using backticks to show your attempts. So and I know we've switched back and forth now, right? So we went from doing the querying lectures to then doing the querying problem set. And now we're doing the relating, and then we'll go to the relating problem set. So having that in your mind about how we switch, so we still use the same file, we just use it for different purposes based on what we're doing that week. In the relating to, I actually do give you how many lines should be in your proof of work, so keep an eye on that as well. Okay, so the thing you're going to do now is you're actually going to code along with me because I'm going to walk you through how to do a join query. Same idea as what I did last week, which is we do a little pre-learning for what's coming. All right, thanks so much. Please reach out if you need help. Know where to get help. My schedule, Brianna's schedule, Discord, right? Whatever it is works best for you. If you're in need of help, please reach out. The sooner you reach out, the sooner we can help you, because you don't want to spend more time than needed working on a particular technical challenge when you could actually be working on the work. And we are here to help with either of those things or whatever else you may need. Well, we can't solve everything, but related to the course. All right, thanks so much. See you later.